Let's do this. Are you ready to do this, Randy? I am pumped. Really pumped. I'm really freaking pumped because the 8800 GT is here. Now, I've been getting a lot of email about this. In fact, I've been getting so much email about this, I really can't do any other work except read emails about the 8800 GT cards. And I'm going to try to answer a lot of your questions really quick before I get to my other questions. Now, will it run Crysis? Yes, it will play Crysis. Is it faster than the 8800 GTS? Yes, it is faster than the 8800 GTS. It's faster than the 320 megabyte version. It's faster than the 640 megabyte version. Is it faster than the 320 megabyte Fatality from XFX? Well, that one's really close. The benchmarks are almost identical to the Fatality, and the Fatality was 20 to 30 frames faster than a lot of the other GTS cards. So it's a really, really awesome card. Now, when it comes to Crysis, how does this thing run Crysis? Well, on medium settings, with everything, most of the things turned up to high, and even 16 times anisotropic filtering, it still runs at over 40 frames per second. Now, you crank it all the way up to 1600 by 1200, and it still gets around 20 frames per second. It's not quite playable at those extremely high resolutions, but it does about the same performance as maybe an 8800 GTX. So the GTX is a little slight edge to the GTX, but it's getting better performance than anything in its price range, better than the GTS and better than the ATI 2900 XT. It's brought a tear to my eye. I use the 2900 XT at home. Now, with my 2900 XT, I've got the Gigabyte, the one with 1 gigabyte of DDR4, and that one does run it at about the same speed as this. But still, for a card in this price range, it runs Crysis very well, and it runs BioShock at over 60 frames per second, which is awesome. Another nice thing about this, it's very slim. It only takes up one slot in your computer, so if you want to use some extra, some extra PCI cards in the system, no problem. All right, I'm going to be doing a video on this very soon, so stay tuned. All right, now let's get to the questions. First question is from Teddy Hugs. All right, Teddy Hugs. I'm not going to say anything about your screen name. Not a thing. Do you have anything to add, Randy?
Nope.
All right, good. Nothing to add there. About the ultra luminous case, where the air duct for the CPU vent is, that's the cone that's on there that you can remove. I know it's removable, but is it possible to put a fan, such as an 80 millimeter fan, there in its place? Well, listen, even if you could put a fan there, I would really recommend not putting a fan there at all unless you're using water cooling. And the reason is, if you put a fan there, it's going to be right over top of where the CPU fan is, and you might create some airflow problems. As far as getting air to the CPU, it could create some overheating issues. So I would just install fans, in the front and the back. Now, you can install a 120 millimeter fan in the back, and you can also install one in the front so you can get some air flowing through there. Now, right behind where the CPU is, the spot where there's a 120 millimeter fan, I'd probably install one blowing air out, because that'll suck all the hot air that's being generated by the main board and by the CPU. It'll suck all that hot air out, and you'll have cool air coming in from the front. So it's all about getting ventilation.
It's going to give me a sunburn on my calves.
Sunburn? I don't know about sunburn. Maybe some kind of radiation burn or something like that. All right, next question is from GM Genesis. I remember reading somewhere that the PCI Express 2.0 cards will work in 1.1, just not to full capacity. Do you know anything of the sorts? Of course I know something of the sorts. Now, this card is a PCI Express 2.0, and that doubles the bandwidth up to 16 gigabytes. That's 8 in, 8 going, and 8 coming. So the bandwidth is ridiculous, and those work just fine in the PCI Express 1 and 1.1 slots. They just don't take advantage of the extra bandwidth that you get from PCI 2.0. But even in a 1.1 slot, this card, it was tested with 1.1. It's still able to run Crysis at very acceptable frame rates. All right, next one is from Born Free. I like that name, Born Free. You better vote for Ron Paul if you want to stay free. All right, let's get to the question. I am cracking my head over here. Please help. Will the 8600 be able to run Crysis? Lastly, when are the next new product line of graphics cards going to be coming out? I'm asking this to evaluate whether I should buy a new graphics card now or wait a little longer. All right, the 8600, will it run Crysis? That is not a very good looking scenario. The Crysis is a monster. I knew it was going to be awesome, but I didn't anticipate it being such a monster. It really requires a powerful graphics card. like this one. So think about getting one of those. They're not much more expensive than the 8600 GTS, maybe 50, 60 bucks more expensive than the GTS, and they're a lot faster. Now, with the 8600, you probably will be able to run Crysis on low settings, but you know what? I ran it on medium settings. I was getting 40 to 50 frames per second on medium quality, and even there, it's the best looking game I've ever seen. Last question is from VK Riddler. We're looking to purchase a digital camera. We have narrowed it down to the Canon PowerShot S5 IS and the Sony CyberShot DSC H7. We're replacing our old Minolta camera, and I wonder which camera would you recommend? Alright, now between those two cameras, those cameras are both very good. I've used them both. Now, for ease of use, I like the Canon. It's very easy to use. If you want to record a video, you have a separate button right there by your thumb to just press record, so you never have to worry about changing the settings. If you see something, you're like, oh, I need a video, UFO, quick. There's an alien attack. I've got to change settings. Oh, I'm dead. No, none of that's going to happen with that camera. You just press record, and you're good to go. Another thing nice about the Canon, some very cool features. I like the features a little better in the Canon. Some of the shooting modes are very cool. One mode is called Selective Color. It lets you pick a color. Like if I have a blue shirt on, you can select the blue color, and that color will show up, and everything else will be black and white, kind of like the effect that you've seen or some people do in Photoshop. Well, it does it right in the camera and does a very good job, and it looks really cool. Also, the color saturation on that one is a little better. Now, the image stabilization, also top-notch. You really can't go wrong with the Canon. Now, for the Sony, I really like the quality of the Sony images at nighttime. I'm not sure why, but in low-light scenarios, indoors and nighttime, I thought the images were just that much less noise. Now, if you guys have questions, go ahead and keep sending them on over to logan@tiger.tv, and always send me a video question. Just respond to this one, and I'll play that, then I'll respond. See you next time.